to get started, I'll start off. I'm fairly new to MLW. Started watching, I think, earlier this year. First
Yeah,
show, first show I watched was Kings of Colosseum, and you are one of the first people that really stood out on that show.
it's
Um,
probably from the Barbie tights.
I absolutely loved it, man. You haven't been with MLW for a really long time. You've came in what, the
No.
last year and a half or so? Year and a half?
Yeah. I started there. I think I signed with them in November. Yeah,
Okay.
November, I think is when my contract started. So,
Okay.
yeah, a year in November. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What was it that appealed to you about MLW? You spent some time on the Indies, obviously, but
Yeah.
what appealed to you the most about going to MLW?
Biggest thing was the fact that I had a lot of people that at the time were, um, sorry, let me
You're
get
good.
my wording.
You're good, man.
So essentially, the main thing about MLW is that they have a great talent pool of different talent. Like the thing that really appealed to me was the fact that they had just partnered with CMLL and New
Okay.
Japan Pro Wrestling at that time.
Yes.
So I saw that as an opportunity to work with guys like if for anybody that just saw the Battle Riot, they saw me work and have a little interaction with Minoru Suzuki. It's not everywhere in the United States that you can really have that interaction with. So
Yes.
it's the fact that you have this great pool of talent with all these different varying styles of professional wrestling that really makes MLW stand out from the pack, in my opinion, just because like it's not in every company where you can see a death match, lucha libre, strong style, hybrid wrestling, technical wrestling, all on the same card. I mean, you mentioned the Kings of Colosseum match. There was a Ricky Shane Page versus Akira in a death match, and then right after that is BRG versus Love Dug in a blindfold match. You don't typically get
Mhm.
cards mixed up like that.
Right. Yeah, it's exciting. I love the fact that there's so many people on the roster that just
Mhm.
they pop when they come on camera. Like you said, there's so much variety. It's not just a show where you turn on and it's just straight, just wrestling matches and wrestlers with no personality. There are so many personalities in that locker room, man.
And
Um,
and that's
yeah,
what makes it entertaining. Like
yeah,
to me, like that's the thing is what is a company that I can utilize my talents in order to prosper and get to the next level. MLW has done nothing but treat me right since I've gotten there, and I've had nothing but a great experience since.
Mhm. And I like that you guys have the freedom to work other promotions, work elsewhere. You're not tied down specifically to MLW exclusively. We could see one of you guys on Black Label or Ring of Honor or AEW or just popping up anywhere. You just never know. But also anybody can pop up in MLW, which we saw at Battle Riot, which is one of the most unique matches in all of wrestling. It's rare that you see a
Hmm.
unique take on such an iconic style of match.
Absolutely.
When you find out you're gonna be in Battle Riot, I mean, I would assume somebody like you knows you're gonna be in the match because why wouldn't they put Ryan Gosselin in the Battle Riot for one? But when you find out you're gonna be in that match, what's going through your mind? How do you prepare for something like that? And how exciting is a match like that to do?
Well, I think you saw when I came out. I had a plan right then and there. It was to go and fight Minoru Suzuki, and then I immediately realized, okay, maybe we'll go to plan B, which was to, you know, hide under the ring. I
Smart.
knew I was 19. I was halfway through. I knew that if I could last underneath there at least until the end, that I definitely had a great plan going through. Of course, Jake Christ had to ruin that. So what else is new? That guy tends to ruin everything lately in my life, but there's nothing really you can change about that. He's embarrassed that I embarrassed him back at Fury Road, and I understand that he's jealous of my charming good looks and my fantastic personality. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's kind of comical in a sense. You know what I mean? Like you ever have that one guy that's just jealous of you, jealous of your fame, jealous of your success, just knows that you are 10 times better than them and they can't accept that. So they have to make sure they have to beat you down at every single chance. Yeah, that's Jake Christ. That's who he is as a person, which, it's kind of sad if you ask me.
Yeah. And I mean, and obviously going up against you, it's a no-win situation for him to begin with because I mean, come on. Like we all saw what happened at Fury Road and Battle Riot. Like, come on.
Well,
Um,
Battle Riot, let's just say that I lasted longer than Jake Chris lasted in the Battle Riot. So yeah.
well, let's go back to the beginning of your time at MLW. How did you get involved with MLW? Where did the pieces start to finally fall in place with that?
When it came to just starting there in the company as a whole.
Yeah, like
So at
what
that
got that wheel moving?
so around that time I had started coming around to shows, coming around to the tapings and everything, and I started to express interest. And there was an opportunity to really make my presence known, for anybody that hasn't gone back and looked. I very much uh, recommend that you do so, because it's probably one of the most, not to say controversial, but also one of the most impactful debuts that I can say that MLW has ever had, where I crowbarred Love Doug across the face. Not crowbar the wrestler, no. I
Right.
took a nice big crowbar and I bloodied Love Doug, like, for pretty much bothering Becca for months on end. At that point, Becca had reached out to me and asked me, "Hey, can you take care of this? Because I guess I can't deal with this creep anymore." So I went and bludgeoned his head, because that's just the kind of man I am. Everybody just thinks, "Oh, he's a pretty boy. He just doesn't know how to fight. He doesn't know how to do this." When it comes to being nefarious and when it comes to making sure that I do everything that I need to do, I make sure that it's an impactful. And like I said, it's probably one of the most impactful debuts that anybody has ever had on the MLW roster.
Yeah, let's talk about Love Doug for a second because I've got to
Mhm.
ask. He seems like a good guy. What's your issue with Love Doug again? I mean, you beat the crap out of him in the blindfold match, and I don't
Mhm.
know. The fans seem to be behind him. He seems like a good dude, but what is the issue with Love
Oh,
Doug?
there's no more issues anymore. He's in the rear view mirror at this point. I mean, I'm focused on the bigger and better things. I mean, I still have Jake Chris that's kind of on my back right now, who keeps trying to like suck away all the fame from me. Which, when you're this famous and you have all these skills in life, you just have to kind of deal with all the jealous people that want to, latch onto your fame. I get it. It's okay. I'll take care of him like I did with Love Doug. It's just a matter of time.
It's rare that you see somebody debut in November and by May and June is one of the highest spotlight or most spotlighted people on the roster. Like you've had a hell of a run so far. You haven't really lost that many matches. You've been a focal point of every show you've been on. You steal the show every time. What has this ride been like for you so far, being such an important, integral part of the MLW show every time?
Well, I just look at this as a way to pretty much say screw you to everybody that said that I couldn't do anything in professional wrestling. Because here's the thing, I started at 15 years old. I knew that professional wrestling was going to be my career. So I pursued it. And right out the gate, I was a skinny kid. A lot of people didn't think that I could achieve anything in pro wrestling, because they look at a 15-year-old kid and they're like, oh, they don't know what the guy's future holds. So they look at me, they kind of write me off. And now those people are sitting in the same stupid wrestling show that they were doing when I was there, and they continue to do it to this day. Have never done anything in wrestling. It's sad, but it's good for me, honestly, because I get to rub it in their face. Like, hey, remember when you told me that I wasn't going to do anything? Yeah, now I'm on a national wrestling company that is that was aired to tens of thousands of people uh, on June 1st.
Hmm.
Multiple, there are people that are legends in this business that I shared a locker room with that night. On top of that, they watched me go out and perform, as I always do, to an outstanding pedigree that nobody else is able to even match at this point. You say, like, oh, I join MLW and oh my God, it's like this crazy thing that I'm like this biggest rising star. I'm one of the focal points on TV. Is it really a surprise when all I do is just walk in and steal the spotlight right away. All I have to do is walk into a room and there's the spotlight's immediately on me. Because I don't understand that these people that are like, oh, like BRG, like he's getting a big head, yada yada. I deserve to have a big head. I do. I like, again, it all stems from the fact that all these people said that I couldn't do it, and I'm rubbing it in their faces now, and it feels damn good.
Speaking of damn good, how did you get involved with with WTF with the Federation? What has that experience been like, or what was it like for you? And what have you been able to learn from some of those guys? Because there's
I'm
a lot of knowledge in that group.
There is absolutely, well, pretty much it just stems back to the fact that I am a star. And that's what professional wrestling needs is stars. It's not these quote unquote work rate wrestlers that think that they're that good. No, it comes down to being a star. And Saint Laurent saw me as a star, and he knew that I would be a perfect fit for the World Titan Federation. I had my friendship with Zeta and everything, but at the same time, I am working with guys like Tom Lawler and
Yeah,
Davey Boy Smith Jr. And just the knowledge alone from those two guys in general is just, it's really hard to put into words because as a young wrestler on the rise, still trying to make sure that he is the best to his ability, being able to take away knowledge from those two guys, just in, just those two guys alone, it's probably one of the coolest moments that I've been able to have in my career.
yeah. It is so cool to see, wrestlers wrestlers of that caliber bringing somebody younger like yourself under their wing and just seeing you just flourish from the very beginning in that group. I mean, in all honesty, it's a perfect combination, it's a perfect teaming, and it just seems to fit so well. And I think a lot of it is because you guys are all different in so many different ways. Like it's not a group of just a bunch of people that are exactly the same. Like you're plucked from different styles of wrestling, different backgrounds, and all sorts of different personalities, and you guys complement each other so well. And it's just so much fun to watch that group together. And you guys all have a lot of individual success as well, which is really cool. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
um, what have you done in your short time in MLW to make sure that you do stand out? Because you could easily just come in, fly under the radar, blend in, be just your normal just wrestler, but your personality alone like sets you apart. What do you do consciously to make sure you stand apart when fans leave, whether it's Battle Riot or Blood and Thunder or, Azteca Lucha Fury Road? What do you do to make sure you stand out? You're the one that everybody is talking about when they leave or when they get done watching it on pay-per-view, Triller, or YouTube.
I walk into a room. That's all I have to do. My presence, my aura, it speaks for itself. There's not a single person on the roster that can honestly match my aura, the spectacle. Like when BRG enters a room, it is a spectacle because the people in the audience have never seen anything like it in their lives. They want to call me a Ken doll. They want to make all those jokes. In all honesty, if you're going to call me a Ken doll, you're just pretty much telling me that I'm the perfect man. And I understand the jealousy and everything. But I mean, come on. Is there anybody really better than me at this point? Is there anybody that even matches my star power? Because I'm in the World Titan Federation for a reason, because only the stars are in the World Titan Federation, and I am the star. Like I said, it was like overnight, that Saint Laurent was on the phone with me, like, hey, kid, we really want you in WTF. Like he was practically begging me to be, and I was like, Saint Laurent, I don't know, maybe I want to be on my own and stuff. But Saint Laurent really insisted. And then he showed me the figures. He showed me all the money that I could be making with World Title Federation. And that's the thing. Is like all these wrestlers are like, oh, I love the art of professional wrestling. I love doing this. This is a sport that I love. No, I'm here to make money. Like, I don't care. Like, I've said it, and this is not even BSing anything. Like, I'm here to make money and get out. Like, this is what I want. I want a life for my fine ass girlfriend, soon to be wife. I want a life for my future kids. I don't want to be sitting in this stupid business, freaking wasting away, beating up my body. I want to make my money, get the hell out. That's all that matters to me. Making money, baby.
Well, let's go back to the beginning of the very beginning before you were making money doing it. What was your training like? Um, how hard was your training and what was your training like compared to what it's like for people coming in right now?
I train with some of the best trainers that New England has to offer. Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Vincent from The Righteous, and then their trainer, Ryan Waters. So my first training was a school out in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, Showcase Pro Wrestling. They taught me the basics, and then I went to Matt Taven and Mike Bennett's school. And this is around the time that Mike Bennett went to WWE in 2017. So it was right
Oh,
around that period.
okay.
So I was training with mostly Matt and Vinny, with Mike coming in when he could. And just those two guys alone, at the time they were in Ring of Honor.
Hmm.
They're working television, and that's what I need. Is that I needed those
Yes.
guys that were working on television, doing the things that I want to do later on in my career, go to Japan, make money, do all those things. Those are the guys that I need to learn from. And that's the thing, is like all these like no name trainers that didn't do anything in the business, like, yeah, sure, I could go learn from you and everything, but are you going to teach me how to be a star? No. I mean, Taven and Vincent definitely taught me how to. And then you go to their trainer, Ryan Waters, who literally took me and fine tuned me into not only becoming the star that I am, but being a well rounded wrestler in that aspect as well. And now I'm training with a guy like Thomas Santel, who is Antonio Thomas in WWE. So that's another guy that has been to WWE, has worked for WWE, knows a lot of different critique and a lot of different advice that he was given by guys like Fit Finley, William Regal. Just there's a vast knowledge. And here's the thing, like I said, I am not one of those guys that's like, oh, I have to love the art of professional wrestling, but I respect it. And I respect what I have to do in order to make the money that I want to make in life. So I'm always asking for advice from guys wherever I see them. Like, for example, I had the benefit of sitting under the learning tree of William Regal one time. And I made sure to ask as many questions as I possibly could, because that is a once in a lifetime chance. I don't know if I'll ever get that again. So I want to make sure that I take advantage of stuff like that. And that's what a lot of wrestlers nowadays, people can say I'm egotistical, but at least I stay humble enough to know that I can learn from people in order to
Hmm.
advance my own career. And some people don't ever want to admit that. And it's really sad when someone like me is claiming to be humble, because I know I'm not.
Well, I think there's a difference between, you know, being arrogant and cocky and knowing exactly where you want to go, what you want to do, and having a clear-cut vision for how you want to get there. And, I see so many wrestlers in my experiences where it's more about the moves and watch me put this highlight reel together instead of what can I learn from the people that I'm around, that I'm underneath, and how can I tell a story and learn how to really get to the next level. And I think there's a huge difference between those two things. And so the fact that you have that vision of where you want to go and how you can get there, I think speaks volumes to the success you're having right now in MLW.
It, like I said, I treat myself like a star and I
Mhm.
carry myself like a star. I don't ever let anybody tell me how I'm going to be BRG, because I'm the only one that knows how to be BRG. I'll take advice. Absolutely. Doesn't mean I have to listen to it though.
Right. Exactly. At what point was there a point or a moment where you started to really figure out who the victorious BRG really is as a personality in professional wrestling compared to when you first started? Was there a point in your career that it really started to click like, okay, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do and this is where we're going?
I was just me. That's it. That's literally it. The jacket, all that stuff just kind of fell into my lap. Like, I am just unapologetically me. I don't care what anybody has to say. I don't care who dislikes me, who who isn't really a fan of me. Because at the end of the day, doing league's better than me, bro. It's just a matter of fact. Because here's the thing. I could go out there and I could BS these people into saying I'm like a plumber or something. Or I'm Spider-Man. I could go and BS them all day long, but it's not gonna be real. No. I'm going to show people the real me. I'm going to show people that I'm unapologetically me. I'm going to say things that are going to make people uncomfortable, and that's totally fine by me. I don't care because guess what? You're not the one signing my paycheck.
Yep. It's wrestling is one of the hardest sports that there is in, well, of any sport. Do you ever get burned out? I mean, it's a lot of travel, a lot of time on the road. It beats the shit out of your body, but you work smart though. You work very smart and you're very careful with what you do in the ring, but do you ever get burned out? If you
I
do,
get
how do you deal with
I
it?
get burned out by like some of these idiotic fans, I'll tell you. I'm just trying to I was just trying to leave center stage in Atlanta. And of course, my ride, his car got one of those boots on it where he couldn't move. So like the parking garage, they put a boot on his car and everything. So I was like, oh great, even better. So I start walking out of the parking garage, and these idiotic fans are like, oh BRG, oh my god, can I get an autograph? Can I get a picture? I'm like, no. And this guy, I don't understand people. Like if you're a wrestling fan, please don't ever do this because this is just like annoying. Like you can do it to anybody else, but don't do it to me. Because like this guy was in my face like this, holding up
Oh
his
God.
phone, like, oh my
Oh
god,
gee.
BRG, oh my god. Like, dude, like leave me alone. Like I don't care to like sign your poster. I don't care to do any of that stuff. Like, sure, you pay me, sure, I'll do it. But like I'm not gonna just do these things for free. You guys are waiting outside of a building for me. Don't insult me by asking me to sign something for free. That just makes no sense.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories about that to where fans are just waiting in areas they should never know where you are at as a wrestler. Like, what is you don't I don't even want to say you have a love-hate relationship with the fans, especially the drunk fans. Like, there seem to be some very unruly fans at Fury Road getting in your face and battle. How do you deal
It,
with that? Like, how do you keep your cool if you keep your cool? Like, how do you deal with the fans that are just like you said, just like
this is little background about me. I've just been naturally antagonistic my entire life. Like
yeah.
for anybody that knows hockey, like the moment I say this, it'll kind of make sense. I was a Montreal Canadiens fan and I grew up in New England. And I was going to Boston Bruins game wearing the Habs jersey.
Ooh.
So for anybody that knows hockey, they know the Bruins and the Canadiens, big rivalry. Like that's like century long rivalry right there. And I enjoyed going to, it was a little bittersweet in hindsight. But I went to game two of the Bruins versus the Canadians, round one in 2011. That's the year the Bruins won the cup. That's why it's bittersweet in hindsight. But it was game two, and Montreal ended up winning 3-1. And I was bragging like crazy. And here's the thing: I'm 13 at the time, and I'm just bragging, like talking shit to like guys that are like quadruple my age at this point, wearing Bruins jerseys. My dad had to like cover my mouth at some point just because of things that I was saying. And even in hockey, I was like a trash talker. Like anytime like I would knock a kid over or I'd be at the face off circle, like I'd be in like sixth grade and be like, how's your mother? Like that's the type of stuff that I was doing. So like this has just kind of always been me. So there's not really anything that can really deter me away from being me. Like I said, I'm unapologetically me. Like I have nearly incited a riot before. That's a shoot. It was like 2019. I had beaten this guy down so badly that the entire area and all the fans were surrounding the ring, checking up on him. And I'm walking away with this title high above my head, and I'm bragging. And this lady's like, he is. You are despicable. You are a terrible person. You understand that? Like, I hope you rot in hell. I'm like, thank you, and walk away.
Oh, that's great. That is
Yeah,
great. That's how you know you got him though, is like,
but I thrive on that stuff.
yes.
That's the thing. Like, this isn't a game to me. Like, this is fun for me. This is like, this is what gives me the enjoyment in pro wrestling. It's that and making money. That's it.
Uh, is there anybody who's come through that locker room over the last 8, 9 months that you've been in that locker room that has kind of had that same mentality that you've been able to kind of talk with to get some advice or some insight or pick their brain or maybe showed you something that you just weren't it just had never crossed your mind. Is there anybody that's come across that locker room so far that's been that way for you?
There is one gentleman. So Saint Laurent always has my back. Obviously, the man.
He seems
You
like a
know,
good
I'm a
guy. I'm
star.
gonna be honest. Seems like a
I'm a
good guy.
star pupil.
Yeah,
I'm a star pupil, and
yeah,
he's a pretty great guy.
yeah.
But if I have to like talk about guys that have are kind of like along the same lines as me, like unapologetically, like themselves. Like
Mhm.
Sammy Callahan's one that I would talk about most. He's the guy that, even though me and him are very, very different type of people, we can relate on the fact that we are both unapologetically ourselves, that we are ourselves, and that we go and do everything to what we want to do, not what the people want to do. So Sammy has given me a lot of great advice. I'm not going to disclose that because now that would just be a
I
free
wouldn't ask you
seminar
to.
for anybody here.
Wouldn't ask you to.
But he is a guy that is very much helped me from where I'm at right now. And I guarantee with the more advice that he provides, I'll be even closer to the goals that I have in professional wrestling.
It's to me, the World Titan Federation has been the faction in MLW. Like nobody can touch you guys. But Contra seems to be growing and getting stronger. Do you guys have an
Yeah.
answer for Contra and how you guys can really
Of
outlast them?
Of course we have. Here's the thing. I cannot disclose these things because
I
then
wouldn't ask you
again
to.
that's just giving them the upper hand. But there's a counter. There's a counter attack for Contra. All right, they want to play their little games. You know, you got your Jason Voorhees want to be cruel, Mads Kruger or whatever his name is, and we got Minoru Suzuki. You know, just saying, if it was a fair fight, I could take him. Like, I don't know how I feel about these guys. To me, it just seems like they want to play these underhanded tactics all the time. And they have all these soldiers and stuff like that. Like, I get it. You went to Hot Topic, you found like a cool mask, and you put a bunch of them on a bunch of these soldiers, and that's cool. That's fine. But do you think you can take on Tom Lawler? Do you think you can take
Oh,
on Davey Boy Smith Jr.? I don't know. That's a tough task. I mean, here's the thing. They have taken MLW by storm. I can't deny that. Since they've been back, it's been moment after moment creating these despicable displays that, in all honesty, a lot of people, their stomachs kind of get a little queasy just looking at it. Like when they put Jacob Fatu in a body bag and he hasn't been seen since.
that's
Like
scary.
just stuff like that. For a first moment coming back and trying to set the impression right out the gate, like that's one way to do it. But again, am I that terrified of them? No, no, because we have a plan. We have a counterattack. We know what we're gonna do. You just have to wait and see and find out.
I really like how over the last year or two, or really the last few years, MLW has become a place where you don't just go to start your career. There's also a lot of people who are established that want to be in MLW and go through that curtain and be in that ring. How much pride do you take being one of the really focal points of the new era of MLW and being one of the ones that's helping really build that reputation right now? Because you guys are on
Should I?
fire. You.
Is it me that should be taking pride, or is it MLW that should be taking pride in me? Because let's face it, it's
Ooh,
me. It's that way around.
ooh,
I
that's a good.
mean, can you really deny it though? Can you?
I mean, your win-loss record is
Stellar.
almost perfect.
The only So first off, Jay Christ fluke. Like that referee was crooked. We all know that. Everybody that watches the footage knows that I kicked out before
You're the one that left
three. But that
standing up.
referee, yeah, exactly. And on top of that, like the only other loss in my column is what? A blindfold match where I couldn't even see. That just screams lucky to me. Like these are just fluke win after fluke win for many of those guys. There hasn't been a definitive win against me yet. Why? Because I am, like I said, this is why MLW should take pride in me. Because I am the guy that's going to represent them for years to come. And I'm probably one of the most dominant guys on the roster. Just
And
saying, you said it yourself. Look at that win-loss record. And I just explained to you how those losses don't even count in my book.
and I don't think it's any coincidence that the two people that beat you are the ones that didn't walk out of the match, and one of them hasn't been seen since, by the way. I don't think has anyone seen Doug? Is he okay?
I don't know. You
Doug
have to ask
alive?
Doug.
Is he? How hard was that match to prepare for? A blindfold match. You're at a complete disadvantage in that match because for one, your face is covered and that's your moneymaker. And
Yeah.
how hard is that
Which
match?
I think is a first off, before we go there, that's a disservice to the fans in general. Like, come on, covering up this pretty face. Like I can understand Doug, but this, come on. Come on. That's just foolish. That's like just taking away pay-per-view buys at that point.
Mhm.
But I mean, how do you prepare for that match? I don't really have an answer for that because you can't. Well, what am I gonna do? Walk around my house with a freaking blindfold on? Like, no, that's
Don't do
stupid.
that. Don't do
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, you don't want to do that. No,
No, I
that's
had my plan. I had my plan, and Doug's a cheater. So what else was new? He was supposed to stay in the ring. I watched the footage back. He's supposed to stay in the ring, and what did he do? He cowered out of the ring after I had knocked him out with one punch. Like, come on. Like I said, fluke win.
well, I I wasn't familiar with either of you going into the match, but I will say this: I remained a fan of yours, and thank you for covering that face of his.
Mhm.
And thank God you got those stupid wings are gone. Thank God. There's
Yeah, I agree.
not
I
good.
agree. They burn. I think I took them and burned them into like trash compactor or something like that. I don't
Smart,
fucking remember.
smart. Thank you.
Yeah.
How does it feel being compared to people like like Rick Rude, Rick Martel, such neon personalities, glaring personalities in the history of the business that are just legendary. How does that feel for you being compared to guys like that?
I mean, if Rick Rude was still alive, he'd probably say it's an honor the fact that we're even in the same category. But the guy dropped dead before I was even born.
Ooh, well,
Yeah. If anything, I got reincarnated. Because God, in all honesty, like he was good looking for his time, but I'm like 10 times better looking than he
this is
ever
true.
was. Like that mustache is kind of out of date, especially if you look at it now. So it's
True.
whatever.
True.
But I mean, at the end of the day, he is a legend of the business. A lot of people respect him, and the fact that anybody would even give me that compliment, it means a lot in a sense. But I'm BRG at the end of the day,
That
and that's all that matters.
how much does it mean to you to know to be able to wrestle in historic buildings like the 2300 Arena, Center Stage, but add to the legend of those buildings the fact that you're wrestling in those buildings. They were already legendary to begin with, very
Were they?
historical. They were. They were. WCW,
Yeah.
ECW. I'm a huge WCW fan. I'd say they're historical buildings. A lot's happened in them, very big moments, but they're more legendary the fact that you've been able to wrestle in them. And how does that make you feel being able to add to the legend of some of these venues?
I mean, in all honesty, my paycheck from them should be bigger. I mean, you just said it right there. I add value to that place. Center Stage, 2300 Arena, like those places are like they're legendary now. Like I remember seeing like this big like wall of fame for the 2300 Arena of just ECW legends, all this. I mean, ECW is cool and whatever, but let's just take all those banners down and just put BRG up there. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we need. That's what we need in the 2300 Arena. And then when it comes to Center Stage, that's cool. It's not really like, oh, big crowning moment of my career. I hope you like for anybody that knows, I didn't start watching wrestling until 2011, and then I didn't start training until 2 years later. So all these like historic buildings, like they're cool in the fact that I go back and I watch them and I respect them and I respect the historical value that they have. But I have no ties. I was like you mentioned WCW and ECW. I was 3 when those places
Oh,
went under. So I
oh,
have zero like nostalgia value to
that's
that,
fair.
to those companies at all. So like it's cool in the fact that I respect those buildings and I respect the history of those two companies, but come on. Like what's happened in those buildings since those companies went under? Absolutely nothing.
It's fair.
Until BRG arrived, until BRG walked into the building and added some class and prestige back to that place.
So, I mean, not necessarily growing up on WCW and ECW and those older promotions. When somebody like Scotty Riggs and Jimmy Yang and even Arachnaman, which was actually Tom Lawler, smart move for you
Mm.
guys, by the way. When you see, personalities like that come into the ring in Battle Riot and you didn't grow up on those wrestlers, it's got to help you kind of separate and really laser focus and take advantage of those opportunities because you're not going to be starstruck in the ring with them. There's just other guys in there that are in your way of winning the match.
Well, just look at that YouTuber. What's his name? Chris Danger.
I didn't
When
know.
he came into the ring. I knew who he was,
I
but
didn't.
at the same, but I do my research on people. That's the thing.
Mm,
Like you got to know your opponent in order to beat them. Like
yes.
that's. I'm a very competitive person. Just because I'm naturally cocky doesn't mean that I don't do research and I don't take my opponent seriously. That would just be foolish. I don't understand what the plan was for Chris Danger because he came in and like lost his mind for Violent J, that ICP, like Insane Clown Posse. Is that the thing? I don't
I'm not a
know.
fan
Like,
at all, to be
yeah,
honest. I'm not.
yeah. I mean, like, how do I say this? Women like me, so I'm not a fan of them. Best way to best way to describe it. And he's just going on about, oh, big fan, big fan. It's like, hey, dude, there's like 10 other guys in this ring that are ready to kick your ass, right? Because like YouTuber joining wrestling, that's not necessarily you know, there are people that get kicked out of locker rooms because they're reality TV stars that get hucked out because they just rubbed the guy the wrong way because they didn't earn it.
Hmm.
I'm not saying he didn't earn it. I mean, he went through wrestling training, he did everything along those lines, but I don't know. I think he needs to sit back and rethink how he plans things going forward in the future. Because if you're gonna fanboy out for some loser in a clown makeup, then I think you need to reevaluate how you go about your matches. But
Do you have similar feelings towards Paul Walter Hauser then, being an Emmy Award winner coming into pro wrestling?
my mom's boyfriend was talking to me about how like cool that was. I was like, I didn't even know who that guy was. I was like, oh, he's in Cobra Kai. Cool. I don't watch that show. It's like cool. Like that's awesome. Like good for you. Like being an actor is amazing and it's got a lot of money to it. You get a lot of fame going to it. As someone that's famous myself, like I get it. Like I'm TikTok famous. I get it. I understand. Get the whole deal.
It-
But like I don't know you. Like to me, you're an actor. You're an actor coming into the wrestling world. And like for me, that's okay. That's fine. But you're not gonna outshine me. You're not gonna outclass me. And I would really hope that you wouldn't try to, because that's just the recipe for disaster for you.
Have you, and maybe you've gotten this question before, but have you ever thought about what a match between yourself and Ryan Gosselin could look like? And have you thought about fighting him for the trademark to the name?
So first off, Ryan Gosling can't trademark my name because even though so this is the funny part that people fail to realize because they're illiterate and don't know how to read. So Ryan Gosling's name is Ryan Gosling,
Gosling.
Gosling. My last name is spelled Gosscelin. So there's
Gosselin?
no way he could even trademark that. Yeah, if anything, like John and Kate plus eight, like that reality show from TLC, like they can try and trademark my name. That be impossible though because they have their own issues going on right now. So, like Ryan Gosling, he can attempt it. He can try to fight me. I've called him out. All I hear is crickets. He doesn't want to do anything. Just sounds to me like scared. What can you do?
I don't blame him. I
Yeah.
would be. I absolutely would be. I might be a little right
Yeah.
now. I don't
I saw him fight in the Barbie movie. I mean, I wasn't impressed.
know. Well, Blood and Thunder is coming up. You guys are going to be going back to Tampa. What does the summer and the rest of the year look like for BRG? Domination, WTF taking over, I would absolutely assume straight to the top. What are your goals for the rest of the year?
So I'll just say this right now. I have the rest of my year planned out. I know every step and every move that I'm going to make going forward from here on out. Now, I'm not going to disclose any of that stuff to you,
Would not ask you.
obviously, because that's been the ongoing theme here. I
Correct.
hold my cards pretty close to my chest. I'm a card player. I know the right way to win is to always keep the cards close to your chest. Make sure no one sees it. And that's what I'm going to do. Because at the end of the day, there's nobody that really thinks things through. Like a lot of people like use their emotions to get angry and they make mistakes. I don't do that. I sit back, I think. I think, what's going to generate this reaction? What am I going to do in order to get to where I need to be at this point in my career? Where do I need to be in August, in September, October? Where do I need to be and how do I get there? All that planning starts now. Because if I don't start planning now, then everything will start to fall apart. And I can't have that. Because I said there's money on the line, there's a future on the line, there's a lot of things on the line for me that I can't afford to lose. And that's really a double thing right there, is that I can't afford to lose any of the things that I want for my future, and I can't afford to lose in general. Because at the end of the day, you don't make money from losing. You don't. No, there's always a winner's bonus. There's always that little bit of extra change that you get from winning. And I've always been a competitive person in my life, so I'm going to ensure that all the plans that I have moving forward are going to be step by step by step. And every single person is going to think, oh, it's not working out in his favor. And then I'm going to blindside them and bitch slapping them across the face and say, you thought. You thought you knew what was going to happen, but I just subverted your expectations. And that's the beauty of BRG.
I love it. I feel like you're just misunderstood by the fans. You're not, you're confident. You know where you want to go. You're going to get
Mhm.
there. Just vastly misunderstood. And you seem like a
I
stand-up
don't.
guy.
I think that people are just jealous. That's it. That's a. It's okay. Like I get it. Like jealousy makes a lot of people ugly, and so there's a lot of ugly people out there. So I get it. A lot of people are jealous of me. It's okay. I get it. But I don't know. It's just some days it gets a little more aggravating than most. It really depends on what day you get me. Because I mean, I got a little bit of a temper. I can't deny that.
We all do. We all do. And
Yeah.
sometimes the fans will push your buttons. I understand. And it's easy to do. But I
And
commend you
I'll
for
just
keeping
punch
it
them.
cool, just remaining yourself, keeping your cool, and doing your absolute best with them. BRG, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and your evening to do this interview with me. I really appreciate it. I really
No
do.
problem. I love doing charity work. It's honestly it makes me feel better about myself.
I greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Good
No
luck
problem.
in Tampa at Blood and Thunder. Not that you need the luck, by the way, um,
No.
at all.
No, I appreciate the sentiment. Don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely.